Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening.
Hold one, Andre.
You're not good at this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You just made the list.
Oh my God!
Sorry, no speak English.
Dummy. Goodbye and good night. Hold two, on bar.
It's still real to me, damn it!
Dummy.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
Hold three, Lamas covered. Three-handle family Gradunzel.
Mamma mia!
And now, Unchained.media presents the B Plus Podcast with your host, Greg Unchained.
It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
Number 4, armbar.
I will never retire!
I still got 200 more. I got 200 more holes to list.
Good afternoon, B Plus players, and welcome back to All the Rest for 2019. I'm your man of mystery, Mr. Mysterious here, and we are going to go through All the Rest, where we talk about everything in the wrestling world, asterisk that isn't covered in our usual programming. Wednesdays, we've got our Kings of the Sports, we've got some Aussie Graps, where we interview an Australian wrestler or someone who's making a positive contribution to the Australian wrestling scene. And we have our view from the WWE Universe. We've got a whole lot of exciting stuff with a lot more to come for 2019. And joining me is the leader, super producer, Greg Unchained. How are you, man?
I am well, Mr. Mysterious. How are you?
I'm happy to be back in the chair for this segment. It feels like we've missed a lot in a way. Like we tried to keep up with some bonus episodes here and there, but a lot's happened since our holiday break.
Yeah, absolutely. 2019 is looking set to be insane. We've got a lot to talk about. MLW didn't stop, obviously, over the break. I got to point out, though, as well, Mr. Mysterious, terrible branding. You didn't say B Plus Podcast anywhere in your introduction. Welcome to the B Plus Podcast, dear listeners.
Okay, of course. I
B
like
plus,
to
B
think
plus,
of
B plus.
I like to think of us as an all-encompassing brand, of course.
No, we do. We talk about everything here, and this is all the rest. So let's dive right into it. What have we got on first up on the agenda?
We do have, as you mentioned, MLW episode 38. Now, have you caught up with the latest MLW?
Yes, I think I may have missed like one over the Christmas break that we took or whatever, but I have been keeping up to date on MLW, yes.
Okay, in that case, you won't be left far behind with this. So we start off with a match between Gringo Loco and, of course, LA Park, accompanied by Serena De La Renta.
Yeah, did you feel like this match went a little bit too long?
A little bit. I always get a little bit unsure of how the match is going to go with the LA Park match because they're not no disqualification, but it seems like the referee just doesn't care that the guys just go everywhere, and it's just a bit, I don't know, they just let them do what they want.
Yeah, it's referee's discretion.
Referee's discretion, quote unquote. I still don't know how that differentiates from a no DQ, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, it depends on how the referee feels on that given day, I suppose.
Well, considering how the match ended, it probably should reconsider the discretion part of this. So we had Gringo Loco just bringing it to LA Park, and I mention this every time we talk about LA Park, but in his 50s, he's still going strong. He still finds a way to, again, every match with him is a no DQ match. Like, he just seems to find a way to try and whip some young new recruit in MLW into shape, and looks like he's just all around just trying to say screw you to the fans every time he's out there.
It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy that he still performs at such a high level. Like, I wouldn't put it, obviously not the same level as like a Jericho who's a few years younger or anything, but you know, at a higher level than people his age should perform at. Although I mean PCO is doing it too, right? So
exactly. So we went through this match. There were some really big spots on the outside where Gringo Loco jumped off the big entrance ramp, I think it was. It was about good.
Yeah, like off the scaffolding stuff.
That's right. Yeah, it was a really awesome spot. LA Park was drinking beer and using the cans as weapons. it was a whole experience. We ended the match with Selena interfering, distracting Gringo, allowing LA Park to hit a spear, and because the referee got hit during the match, it was a quick, fast count, similar to a lot of the AAA kind of matches, and yeah, that was our opening match.
Selena De La Renta is one of the best heels in the business, bar none.
Couldn't agree
in
with
my
you more.
opinion. Yeah,
And
she manages to get so much heat out of that crowd.
and that especially with the given how the last episode their actions against Conan in the heavyweight championship match, all the Promociones Dorada were fined $7,500, $15,000. They all got some hefty fines.
Right, we were on break when this happened, so obviously what we're talking about is they shanked Conan.
Loki is just trying to one up himself. Like, he ripped off Rayfield's mask, he ripped off Darga's ear, he took away Swerve's hair. Like, he's really going out of his way just to outdo himself.
Yeah, well, you asked where he would go next, and I don't think we predicted a literal stabbing. Like, are you one of the people that thinks that they went too far with that angle, or are you one of the people? Because I put up a Facebook poll. Was it too far or not far enough? And I think 62% of people said not far enough.
Yeah, no, it was a no DQ match. I don't know what obviously it was very visual acts. I don't understand why the referee stopped it in a no DQ match. So
yeah, for the people who voted not far enough, what's the line? Because when we asked the same question about Impact running over a child, that was too far. So a stabbing, okay. Running over a child, bad. I need to know where the line is in this spectrum of what is or is not acceptable in your wrestling entertainment.
And it's weird because a lot of the Impact stars do actually help out with MLW on occasion, so...
yeah. MLW they're very forward-thinking. They're very open with their talent, which I like that. And it looks like, I mean, I'm sure we're going to get to All Elite Wrestling, but it looks like All Elite Wrestling are having a similar idea of, we'll let our guys work where they want to work. Maybe some of the top guys will be a little bit more exclusive and what have you, but it's looking, like I said, interesting 2019. But MLW, I really like the MLW ethos and attitude.
Absolutely. We didn't have much matches. Usually we have about 3 matches per episode with MLW. We had a few promos. Fred Yehai cut a promo on Loki, returning to member of Team Filthy. You had Tommy Dreamer cutting a promo on Brian Pillman Jr. for their upcoming Singapore Cane match. And we ended the match, though, with a real great main event. Teddy Hart going up against Pentagon Jr.
Yeah, I really loved this match.
Yeah, one of the things that happened during the break, you might not have heard of it. Teddy Hart is now the new middleweight champion after the fatal 5-way ladder match where he somehow inserted himself into the match and just wiped the floor of all the other 4 contenders. And yeah, go Teddy.
Yeah, new middleweight champion. And also, the Hart Foundation got their own little... It's like a little weekly spot on the show that they've turned into a YouTube show as well. I'd like them, if they're going to do a YouTube show, I want it to have extra stuff in it that they don't air on Fusion itself, but they don't. But it's called H2TV, I think they're calling it.
That's right. It wasn't in this week's episode, strangely enough. I was wondering, because the last episode was directed at the Lucha Brothers, and no, I don't know whether there was some scheduling wrong at that time, but hopefully we'll see what happens with the next episode. But in the match itself between Teddy Hart and Pentagon Jr., are some of the top performers in MLW. Surprisingly, Teddy didn't come out with the middleweight belt, so I'm not exactly sure how long ago this match was, but right off the bat, it seemed like Teddy got pushed to his absolute limit going up against Pentagon.
Yeah, I always get confused with taping schedules and airing schedules and when things were filmed and when they took place. Because I just watch it, I avoid all spoilers, so I just watch it as it happens. And so when things are happening out of continuity, and so they've won a belt, and I've seen them win the belt, but now they're coming out without a belt, it bums me out. I'm like, we need to have someone in each of these companies, because Impact do it as well. Yeah. Ring of Honor, probably the highest profile example of it happening quite often. They've had an Honor Club event that takes place between 2 tapings and someone wins a title and then they just try not to mention it on TV. It's really awkward for everyone involved. And I feel like these companies need to hire a continuity expert. You know, like they have people in Hollywood whose job it is to make sure, you know, nothing has moved on the set, and like, because sometimes you'll be halfway through filming a scene and you'll wrap for the day and you'll come back the next day. And so their job is to make sure, you know, the tie is sitting in the exact right place on the guy who's sitting at the desk who's just an extra. All this sort of stuff, like make sure everyone's in the, wrestling needs those.
Absolutely. And going back to the match itself, Teddy Hart, of course, like hit a couple of Canadian destroyers, got Pentagon hitting the Pentagon driver. I would say I noticed no one was booing in this entire match. Like it was just cheering and more cheering, which I'm really happy to see. Like no matter what MLW, if they even try, I don't think they even try anymore to make us hate the Hart Foundation. It's not going to happen. And I would say Teddy kind of won clean in this match. Like he hit a hammerlock DDT and he did his Powerbomb lung blower for the win. Like it was, a really solid build-up for their upcoming match.
Yeah, I'm noticing that the Lucha Brothers are taking a lot of L's in various places, and I feel like everyone thinks they're heading somewhere else, so they're jobbing them out. That's what it looks like to me, because they're losing everywhere at the moment. I don't know what's up with that.
Well, they have announced some more matches for the upcoming Superfight event for February 2nd.
Yes.
So, of course, we do have the Hart Foundation going up against the Lucha Brothers for the Tag Team Championship. We have Low-Key going up against Filthy Tom Lawler, a match about 7 months in the making. They've announced we have Ray Horus going up against Aerostar, which will be...
Aerostar!
No.
Aerostar's debuting! Yeah, I love it. It's so good. I love the Lucha influence, man. It makes me happy.
Absolutely. And then we've also got, returning from injury, the man who never lost the middleweight championship, MJF, is going to make an appearance.
Right. So we got to think that the Hart Foundation are winning those tag team titles.
I would like to think so. I'm not sure. Would they defend it under the Freebird rule, or would you say, like, go to Davey Boy and Pillman?
Yeah, I feel like Davey and Pillman would take it, and especially while Teddy has the middleweight title. But then if Teddy was to lose the middleweight title to someone else, then they could do the Freebird things, I guess. But I feel like it really looks as though Lucha Brothers are wrapping up their time in places, which, I mean, I know they said they were going to stick around, but, you know, who knew All Elite Wrestling was coming? They probably knew. I'm going to guess they probably knew.
I'd say so. We'll touch on that a little bit more. Of course, next week's episode, we're going to see, as we mentioned before, Dreamer versus Pillman. We've got Low-Key going up against Fred Yehai. Sami Callihan is expected to make a return to try and redeem himself for not taking out Tom Lawler. And,
been a while since we've seen Sami.
Yeah, and we've got Dragon Lee will be going up against Rich Swann. So, really good card there.
There's someone else that we haven't seen in a while.
Who is that?
And Shane Strickland. Where is he?
Yes, exactly. So
where he be at?
His story was that he was having issues with management, specifically Court Bauer, the CEO of MLW. Name drops.
Right, and he called him out, yeah.
And the last, I can't say appearance, it was just apparently him just arguing behind closed doors with Court. Like, that was about it. We haven't heard any other mentions. And, of course, there was the rumor that he'd be going with NXT at some point, and it's been radio silence.
So is it possible that it was actually a shoot and they were just like, we'll leave it in, it's entertaining? Like, is that actually possible?
It shows that Court's willing to just kind of play to the fans a bit more than what we're used to. Ugh.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, controversy creates cash and all that, but it's kind of like I said, it's that ethos, that mindset that Court Bauer has. MLW feels, and this is going to take me to what I wanted to move on to in the discussion.
Sure, go for it.
Is MLW feels like a modern day ECW. Like, if ECW hadn't gone out of business, if ECW had stuck around, like Paul Heyman has talked before in interviews and whatnot, that, you know, the hardcore thing wouldn't have lasted forever. They didn't know about the headshots and the concussions and all that sort of stuff back then. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he sees the next step as embracing that sports type feel, which is what MLW does, right? Like, they're not matches, they're fights, right? They're not wrestlers, they're fighters.
I would say WWE is kind of going in that vein, of course, with the big Fox Sports deal, and they're trying to, what was that term you used, I think, last time? Just cross appeal, I think it was, or?
Yeah, crossover appeal,
yeah.
Yeah, like using Ronda Rousey and stuff and more MMA people to have that crossover appeal. And I don't know. It seems like, Paul Heyman's got one of the best minds in the business. If he says the future sport, NJPW is really popular and they do a more sports-focused type product. And so I can see, like, MLW, I look at it as basically, it feels like what ECW would have become if ECW never went anywhere.
Absolutely, I can totally see that.
And it's really interesting in moving into 2019 with All Elite Wrestling coming in with some big money behind it. And, you get all the comparisons to WCW. And I think that they, a little tongue-in-cheek, are leaning into those. I think, and I'm sure we'll talk about that more soon. But I really feel like All Elite Wrestling and WWE is on a whole other level. No one is going to be competing, as it were. Like, that word gets thrown around.
Yeah.
And it's the wrong word. But there is going to be a level of competition because, there is big money behind All Elite Wrestling, so wrestlers will have more choice and what have you. Everyone's price is going to go up. It's good for the industry as a whole. But what I'm saying is All Elite Wrestling are stepping up, and they're going into that sort of space that a WCW would have filled, sort of thing, with WWF as the monolith that's in charge of everything. And then on the lower level, though, fighting for that third spot, you actually have multiple companies.
Oh, God, yeah.
Lucha Underground's kind of in its own world, right? And New Japan's over in Japan, and they're coming over west, but it's sort of its own thing. But just in America, I'm looking at Impact, I'm looking at Ring of Honor, and I'm looking at MLW, and I'm like, these guys are all competing for the same group of wrestlers, for the same group of fans as well. And I feel like MLW are the best positioned to move forward, and I'm really worried about Impact.
I would argue that also NWA, like, going into 2019, which will be covering a new edition of 10 Pounds of Gold.
Man,
yeah.
NWA are wild, though. Like, they're a wild card. What are they even doing? Like, they just work with other people, right? So they've got Championship Wrestling for Hollywood, House of Hardcore, all these other places that do. So NWA is like a whole other beast. It's interesting. There's a lot of interesting things happening.
Now, I was going to talk about, before the newest episode, 10 Pounds of Gold, came out, I was going to talk about David Arquette going up against Josephus and him getting his head shaved, but we did get a new episode of 10 Pounds of Gold, which focused on PJ Black going up against Nick Aldis at some Ring of Honor tapings for the NWA Championship.
Right, fair enough. I haven't seen this one yet, because it's at a Ring of Honor taping. I'm worried I'm going to encounter some kind of spoilers.
That's true. It wasn't
so.
It just touched on, apparently PJ was owed a rematch with Nick Aldis because he lasted 5 minutes in a competition, saying, like, you last in the ring with me for about 5 minutes, and but then after that, PJ had a base jumping accident. He nearly lost his finger. He snapped all the tendons in his ankle. He was out of commission for a long while, and this is his road to recovery. Just now he's got a chance to go up against the champ. I would say, of course, like, for those who don't know, like, for more WWE fans, Justin Gabriel, who was a former member of the Nexus, moved on to do some things at Lucha Underground, and he has made him more of a name for himself as the direwolf, Daredevil type character, and I could see him being a champion. I don't expect him to beat Aldis per se, but I can see him leading the charge in some other company, like maybe Ring of Honor at some point.
No, I think Nick Aldis is holding that title for quite a while.
Yeah, I
don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon.
He does have his scheduled rematch with Tim Storm at one stage, should he accept, and if Tim loses, he will never be able to challenge for the NWA Championship ever again.
Yeah, I saw the setup for that one, that little promo that he had where he called him out. The whole champion choosing his challengers thing is still odd to me. I'm not a huge fan of champions choosing challenge. I feel like challengers should step up and be earned and call out the champ, not the other way around. But, it is what it is. And so he's thrown down the challenge of Tim Storm. You can come get it, but then if you lose, you're never going to have another shot, which, like, you have a lot of weight as the champion. You're just throwing it around now at this point.
I would say it's similar to how you mentioned that NWA is a different kind of beast because they don't really have a general manager or a chairman or something because they work with so many companies. So unless the manager travels alongside the champion and kind of makes those decisions, it would kind of get a bit murky for my taste.
Yeah, it's Billy Corgan and Nick Aldis and the people that are involved, and they're sort of choosing who they want Aldis to fight and just promoting those fights. And that's why I don't see Aldis going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
moving right along, we've mentioned them a couple times now, but we had the latest episode of Being the Elite came out, which entitled After Wrestle Kingdom. Pretty much what we...
Elite. Be the elite. Sorry.
That's right.
It's hard not to do it. You want to talk about branding. Like, these guys could run a seminar on branding, and, like, I would pay the $400 to, like, stream it to, whatever, those marketing. Yeah, anyway.
I'm just
these
waiting
guys are
for
brilliant.
Double or
But yes.
Nothing just to hear that. And it's just... I can't imagine how much more people will be like, just the moment that AEW starts, like, you might even, like, might be part of the intro as well, like, just you hear the Elite theme song, or I don't know, but...
Oh, yeah, it's gonna... For sure.
So, really, this episode kind of told us what we already knew. So, you had Kenny Omega joining the villain Marty Scurll for his unconventional New Year's Day party. They got
the New Year's Day party, where he got completely trashed and started shit-talking everyone.
Bless. And Kenny doesn't drink, but still, I don't know if he was faking or he indulged for the sake of Scurll, but that was a fun little time.
I thought it was funny how everyone was like, no, we don't drink. Like, I don't drink. Like, we're athletes. And Marty's just like, oh, come on, mate. Fucking have a drink. It was very entertaining.
And we had, of course, behind the scenes of Wrestle Kingdom, and it kind of played off really well. Like, there was a somber note, of course, at the end, because all the members of the Elites lost their championships, they lost their matches, and they kind of set it up like, the moment one of them lost their championship, don't worry, Cody's got this, or don't worry, Kenny's got this, and it just, one after the other, like,
Yeah, one after the other, they all fall down. And then the big reveal at the end, though, so after they say their goodbyes and what have you, the big reveal at the end is so Kenny talked about he'd lost his phone.
Yeah.
He's like, has anyone seen my phone? I can't find my phone. And his phone is, of course, this is the post-credits. I love that they do post-credits, by the way. So his phone is in a garden outside the Tokyo Dome, and it has a countdown.
Could we see another star from New Japan playing a part in AEW?
Can I predict something here?
Go for it.
I'm gonna go completely off the wall. The next week's Being the Elite. I assume he finds his phone and he's like, "Oh, this is why do I have one of these?" And it's a countdown. And I think we'll see the countdown. And you know when I think the countdown ends?
Royal Rumble?
Royal Rumble Day.
Yeah.
And on the day of the Royal Rumble, they will announce he's signed for All Elite Wrestling. Just to cut any buzz out of the fact that Kenny might show up in the Royal Rumble. They want to get everyone excited. Like, oh, Kenny might show up in the Royal Rumble. And then, boom, press release on the day. Kenny Omega signs with All Elite Wrestling, and all the sales is gone out of the excitement for what could have been a really cool moment at the Rumble. I think that because All Elite Wrestling aren't like, they're not outright attacking WWE in any way, but they're definitely like, they're putting a little wink and a nod, which is what the Elite do. They wink and nod at everything. And so they're putting a little wink and a nod in everything that they do. I mean, they held their rally right down the road from SmackDown, you know?
Exactly.
They're doing things on purpose for sure. And I think that this is going to be one of them. I mean, they had a whole segment where they super kicked Triple H. So.
All right, guys, before we get into the rest of the wrestling news, we've got a quick little couple words from our sponsors.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
January is here and we are fast approaching WrestleMania season. Royal Rumble and the road to WrestleMania are around the corner, so the time to dilly-dally is past us. If you want to experience WrestleMania live, and who doesn't, let's be honest, you deserve it. The best and really the only way to do it is with All Aussie Travelers. All Aussie Travelers are new to the wrestling travel package game, but they are veterans at travel, and they have put together a package that cannot be beaten. For less than $7,500, All Aussie Travelers are going to send you to New York, New York, with return flights, airport transfers, full accommodation, and tickets to the WWE Hall of Fame, NXT pre-show party, NXT TakeOver, WrestleMania, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, and more. The coolest part about these packages is that for NXT TakeOver, Raw, and SmackDown, you are going to be seated in your own private VIP suite, normally not available to the public, but all Aussie Travellers have you covered, man. They got this locked down. It has its own bar, it has its own bathroom access, and all the luxuries that a VIP box comes with, not least of which, of course, an incredible view for everything happening in the ring. All of this for under $7,500. They're practically giving these packages away, man. You'd be crazy not to check it out. So head over to All Aussie Travellers on Facebook. The link is in the show notes. And tell them that the B Plus sent you. And let's go watch WrestleMania in style. Christmas has come and gone, and with it, the disappointment of those Secret Santa staples, the shave kit, the sports hygiene packs, and seasonal socks is fading. As we roll on, though, into the new year, it's time to make resolutions. So why not resolve to look better in 2019 and get yourself the gift that keeps on giving and never disappoints? Threadbox. Threadbox is a subscription clothes shopping service which for as little as $40 per month will send you a box of personally curated goodies straight to your doorstep. I get the $160 package which comes with over $200 worth of fresh goodies each month. Kept me looking fly for all my Christmas engagements this year. You get to communicate with the Threadbox stylist assigned to you by email regarding what it is you need, and they will tailor the box accordingly. And in the unlikely event that you don't like what they send you, you send it back, they will replace it with something new and make note of the things you don't like so that they can avoid that kind of thing in the future. Threadbox is a truly unbelievable service that no man should be living without, so head over to threadbox.com.au today and use our code TheB+15 when you check out to get 15% off your first box.
And we're back, guys, with all our other wrestling news, all the stuff that's come hot off the desk. We mentioned them just before we went on to ads. AEW, with all their deals, a lot of contract and a lot of news coming out, of course, with the announcement of All Elite Wrestling.
Man, it's all over the place. It's all over the place. You cannot look at wrestling news at the moment without, like, every second headline is AEW this, AEW that, rumor this, rumor that.
It's only going to get worse.
It's everywhere. But I wanted to, so we talked about them super kicking Triple H, and that was their way of turning down the deal, right? Yes. That he'd offered them. Have you heard the rumors about what the actual deal was?
Yes, I have actually, which I'm really surprised that they were going to bend over backwards to such a degree for the Elite. I've heard talks of them actually incorporating Being the Elite into the WWE Network.
Yeah, Being the Elite, they offered to air Being the Elite on WWE Network as a weekly show. They also, apparently, the Young Bucks were each going to get AJ Styles money. Like, the same level of pay that AJ Styles gets was for the Young Bucks each. Which, I mean, look, they're worth every penny.
Yes.
But, like, that's just, I mean, AJ Styles should be getting paid more. I don't know. It's crazy to me that they were offered such huge deals. I mean, they wanted to keep Hangman Page in NXT, but they wanted to pay him main roster money. Which, I mean, that's gonna cause problems in NXT, wouldn't it? Like, if some of them know, this guy's on so much more money than us.
Especially, like, I know they're investing a lot more money, of course, with the other Performance Centre, which we'll touch on later on, but
yeah.
I've also, and another interesting thing I found, they actually gave them a 6-month window where they could actually leave their contracts if they weren't happy with their push.
Yeah, if things weren't going well, 6 months. Now, that's really sneaky, because essentially, that what they're doing there is they're like, okay, we're going to try to get these guys, and we'll give them this 6-month window where if they're not happy, they can leave, because in 6 months' time, this Tony Khan kid, he's going to go away. Like, in 6 months' time, if he can't get them now, he's going to move on. He's going to, keep doing his thing with the Jaguars, and he's not going to bother, right? So it's now or never for them with AEW. So if we can just give them what they want for 6 months, then we've got it in the bag. We're home free. And thankfully for wrestling fans, they didn't take the bait. They turned it down. I'm curious to see what Cody's contract offer looked like.
I'd say he'd be more familiar, of course, being part of there previously, and I remember, if I'm going to compare it to maybe like the rumors we've been hearing about Kenny Omega's, like maybe they would guarantee him a world title run, or I don't know, they would just fork out whatever.
I saw that too. They were guaranteeing Kenny Omega a world title run and a huge push into WrestleMania. I can't get past the fact that WWE own everything, but this group of 5 guys were just like, nah, we're good. Like, they're really taking a gamble. Like, I know that they've got these big money deals with AEW. Like, Cody said that his contract is worth more than anything he ever earned in WWE. So is Chris Jericho, apparently. His contract is worth more than anything he's earned in WWE. And so, like, there's big money in AEW, obviously, but it's still a gamble because this thing could fall flat on its face. It could completely fail. Whereas WWE, you know, that's going to chug along until my grandkids have grandkids, you know?
Yeah.
It's I can't express how much, like, it's a huge thing and how much respect I have for these guys for betting on themselves in that way.
I'd say that you're right. It's, again, we mentioned before, it's not competition, but at the same time, they can feel the winds of change and they just want to try and stay ahead of the curve as best they can.
Yeah, well, I think that everyone needs to sort of temper their expectations because everyone's like, "Oh, they're going to be they're going to be competing with WWE. They're going to go head to head." No, they're not. They're not. They're not that dumb, right? Everything I've seen indicates that all the individuals involved in this are very smart individuals. Chris Jericho has had a near 30-year career. He has reinvented himself multiple times. He has always done what's best for business, and he's always made money, and he's always been incredible, right? As my personal feelings about how lame he is aside, he's amazing. He's amazing. And he's proven this time and time again that he's smart with the business. The Bucks, Kenny, they are all, Cody, of course, he sat under the learning tree of his father. They're all very smart people. And this Tony Khan dude appears to be some kind of genius as well. Like, everything he's doing seems right. Like, I don't know, obviously, but what we see in the press and what we hear him talk about, he's saying all the right things.
He is a subscriber with the newsletter, so he has been paying attention to the scene for quite some time. So he's not just a guy who, a billionaire on a whim, just decided, I want to set up a wrestling company.
Yeah, he's a lifelong wrestling fan. Christian talked about, I think it was on their podcast, Christian talked about, he went to lunch with Tony Khan, like, years ago, like, before any of this, like, before All Elite Wrestling was everything. He was at lunch with someone else. I can't remember who it was that he said, but this other person knew Tony Khan and brought him along. And Christian kept wanting to talk about football, right? Because this guy's in the Khan family with football. I want to talk about football. And he kept turning the conversation back to wrestling and asking Christian questions. And Christian said that he could remember details about matches I didn't even know I had. Like, that's how much this kid, like this Tony Khan dude, loves wrestling, is he could remember details about matches that Christian had forgotten and put in the rear view long ago. And so we're talking about someone who has somewhat of a mind for the business, from what everyone's saying anyway. So all we can go off is what people are saying. Jim Ross says the same sort of stuff. And they could all be involved and hyping it up because they want to make money. So who knows?
And also a couple more news has come out about AEW. Of course, Billy Gunn has been announced as the only official producer alongside the Young Bucks and Cody.
Right.
It was a little video on their Facebook page. It's only about 40 seconds, you guys. Go check it out. They showed Billy Gunn's son, who I'm not sure he's a wrestler, but I should have looked up before. But whether we see,
I'm fairly sure he is. Yeah,
we could maybe see him be a part of the AEW roster. I think that's pretty safe to say.
I'm going to derail this whole thing.
Okay, go for it.
I'm going to derail it. This isn't in our agenda, but I'm putting it out there. Who would you like to see signed? You're across some of the indies and what have you. Who would you like to see picked up by All Elite Wrestling?
Because he's been in the news a lot more, especially with his sad run in WWE. I'm going to say Zack Ryder.
Right? Yeah, Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder's definitely one. I've got a little bit of a wish list going. So if the Elite guys are listening to this, I know that they're big fans. Please sign the postmodern superstar RJ City and David Arquette.
Oh God, yeah.
Please. I mean, it would be. I just think they could do such great work with this company.
If you mention we mentioned marketing and like branding and everything else, like RJ City and David Arquette, they are like as a team, they are poetry in motion.
Yeah. While you're at it, sign Jungle Kid so that Luke Perry comes along for the ride.
Oh God!
Because are you familiar with Jungle Kid?
Is he part of Ring of Honor or?
No. So he's been doing some of the indies, like he's done some Game Changer wrestling. I think he might have debuted in PWG recently as well. And he's Luke Perry's kid.
Okay.
Right, he's Luke Perry's kid. And so Luke Perry is just randomly hanging out backstage at wrestling events because, David Arquette's wrestling and his son's on the same card. So he's out here to check out his friend and they're doing a documentary and all this sort of crazy stuff. Like on that death match when Nick Gage busted his neck open and stuff. Like Luke Perry was the one that took him to hospital. Like Luke Perry was filming a documentary with his son, and I just think that you got to sign that group, and don't sign Luke Perry, but it'd just be cool to have Luke Perry hanging out at All Elite Wrestling events. I don't know why. But RJ City is brilliant, and I really like his whole gimmick, and I think that RJ City would do really good work. And obviously, David Arquette is David Arquette, and that's going to get you media attention. That's my wish list. But Zack Ryder from WWE, I saw Finn Balor tweeted today, the grass is always greener. Picture of him looking out the window at some green grass.
Prince Devitt would be a great draw.
Yeah. They're all just milking it. Like, half these guys aren't going to go across. AJ Styles is using it in his negotiations. Apparently, he's got WWE bent over a barrel because All Elite Wrestling are going to offer him equal money with a way lighter schedule. So
what you can take away from this is that indie wrestlers, their prices are going up in the past month, and it's going to continue to rise just with all these negotiations and moving over, like new performance centers being built up. Like, it's all happening.
Yeah. What about TV? What about the TV deals? We haven't even touched on that.
Thing that's for Australian fans, Impact is now on Twitch, so we can now legally watch Impact Wrestling again.
Yes, I did. I watched it today, literally right before we recorded. And the interesting thing too is on Twitch you can see the viewers. So I was literally watching as the show started. When the show first came on air, there was 6,500 people watching, and by the end of the show, it had sat around the 9,500 mark for most of the show, like for most of the second half of the show.
So I think it's fantastic for them to make it more accessible to an international audience, which I forget what the name of their network, the deal that they had to take away Impact on certain channel,
yeah, so they had Impact on Pop. The weird thing is, so Impact have just downgraded. So I think at one point they used to be on one of the Fox networks. I can't remember which one. But they've just gone downhill. Every time they're going on a smaller network. And this time around they've gone from Pop, and it looks like nobody wanted them because they've ended up on Pursuit Network. And Pursuit Network is like this outdoor hunting and fishing channel that Anthem, who own Impact, Anthem also own part of this channel, Pursuit. So they had to, they're paying themselves for TV content. It's one of those weird things where how does that even happen? If you want to hear more about that, listen to Impact Zone tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll have an Impact Zone. So as you're listening to this on Sunday, Impact Zone is on Monday, and we'll be talking all about this deal. But yeah, they're over on Twitch now. But what I was referring to was the rumors of because we were talking All Elite Wrestling, I thought we may as well talk about the rumored TV deals there.
Yeah, there's been a few. We mentioned, of course, Chris Jericho. He's saying that there's reportedly about 3 TV deals that they're trying to sort out at the moment. He was on a Busted Open radio, and he's saying just multiple suitors.
Yeah. So he said that I wouldn't have signed with them if they didn't have TV.
Yeah, of course.
So it's pretty much as good as done. The big rumor, though, is that it's Turner. And that's where, this is, again, everyone, you got to temper your expectations. Like, everyone's like, oh, it's going to go on TNT. They're going to move NBA to put All Elite Wrestling on. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. If you're expecting something like that, and then what they actually do comes out, and you're like, oh, this is tiny and crap. Like, you got to go into this with the right expectations. I have a prediction for where they end up, because it's the big room is Turner, right? Is that what you've seen as well?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. So Turner has a bunch of networks, but one that I think really fits with All Elite Wrestling, because, the Elite guys are kind of jokesters, kind of pranksters, bit of fun.
Absolutely.
Have you heard of True TV?
Tried and True?
No, True TV is one of the smaller Turner networks. Okay. I think it would be a really good test network for whether wrestling still plays on network television, right? It's one of the smaller networks, and its most popular show that I know of is a show called Impractical Jokers.
Okay.
Right? And they're a bunch of guys that go around doing stupid things, and like they have to basically they compete against each other doing stupid things, and then the person who loses the most challenges, they get punished at the end. And in the past, one of their punishments took place at a House of Hardcore show where the guy got the crap beaten out of him by Tommy Dreamer, right?
Sounds like a really good playing ground.
Now, this is where I start to connect the threads, right? Because I'm a conspiracy theorist. I've got my pin board at home. We've talked about it before. I start connecting the threads. I'm like, Tommy Dreamer is in the Nightmare family with Cody. Connection 1. The Impractical Jokers are huge wrestling fans. Huge wrestling fans, right? They performed on the Chris Jericho cruise. Thread number 2. Yep. Right? It's all coming together. It's a Turner Network. Thread number 3. Do you know what night Impractical Jokers airs? I'm going to give you one guess.
Mondays?
No. Tuesday night.
SmackDown, yeah.
Now, the rumors are, because All Elite Wrestling are smart, the rumors are they want to slot into where SmackDown used to be, because SmackDown is going to move to Fox on Fridays as of October, I think it's 19th or something.
Yeah, around there.
Yeah, sometime in October, they're moving to Fox on Fridays. And so that Tuesday night wrestling spot where people are like, hey, it's Tuesday night, I'm going to sit down and watch some graps, it's not there anymore. And All Elite Wrestling are rumored to, they're going to fill that spot. And everyone's talking about them going to TNT. For them to do that, they need to move the NBA. That's never going to happen. I think they go to True TV with Impractical Jokers as a lead-in. You got some cross-promotion there. They're wrestling fans. It suits the network. The style fits. You get some crossover on Being the Elite. They'll probably show up at Double or Nothing or whatever the next one is. And all of that takes place in October. So, we got a big year to get through all this. But that's my prediction. It's going to end up on True TV. You've seen the threads. Chris Jericho Cruise, the wrestling fans, Tommy Dreamer, House of Hardcore, Nightmare Family. I'm not crazy, okay?
He's been tested. He's not.
I have a certificate that says I do not have donkey brain. I believe that they will end up on True TV. And if anyone wants to make a wager of some kind, because I'm so confident in this. It has to happen. They're going to end up on True TV.
I'll take her up on that. I reckon it seems like a good playing ground for them. Absolutely. Well, of course, we'll know more in the coming months, but I see what you're saying. You sold me on this one. I don't know.
It's happening. It's happening.
All right, guys. We better touch on some WWE news, lest everyone think that we're just completely all about the independent scene, which, of course, we like to talk about.
I mean, look, it's dominated the news cycle. There's not much we can do about it.
Usually, if you follow our previous episodes, usually it's been WWE that's been the workhorse for all our wrestling content. Now it's slowly reversing, but we'll talk about a couple other things here. Of course, have you heard about this little thing, Greg? Of course, the NXT UK Performance Centre.
Right, yeah, happened yesterday? Yeah. they announced, so just randomly on Good Morning Britain, Pete Dunne's, Trent Seven is just like, oh yeah, we're getting our own performance center. Let's just throw it like it's no big deal. Nothing at all.
Which is fantastic news, of course, for the UK fans, and that depending on how well they do, there may be chances for more performance centers to open up. We can let the speculation go, of course, we would absolutely love to have one here in Australia, but I think maybe they hedge their bets for the time being and just see what up, maybe Asia.
Yeah, I feel like Japan's probably going to be the next one. The Middle East is probably they're probably going to open one in Saudi Arabia, right? Because they're getting all that sweet oil money.
They wouldn't lose on that one, yeah.
They like to do their South American tryouts too, so they've got a lot of regions that they're looking at. You can tell they're looking at a lot of regions. But Triple H specifically said this is the first of what will be many outside the US. And that was at the press conference where also Charlotte Flair showed up and called out Rhea Ripley, Isla Dawn, and Toni Storm. So that was interesting. But no, I think that it's interesting that they're opening performance centers. It's really good that the people for NXT UK are going to have that extra support that the NXT Florida guys do, where you have financial advisors on house, you have nutritional advisors on house, strength and conditioning. It's a much smaller performance center, of course, but if you expect it to be. You're not expecting them to open these $1 billion facilities in every single country that they operate in.
No, and of course, they're not. I wouldn't say they're separate as well, because we've got the upcoming Royal Rumble Access event where You got the stars of 205, NXT, and NXT UK. They're going to be competing in the next couple of weeks.
Oh man, this news got me so excited.
Yeah.
So excited. So the Royal Rumble Access event, and they're filming this for a network special. I hope it's not just a network special. I hope that they film it. I hope that they get enough out of it that it's like at least a couple of weeks, in the spot that the Mae Young Classic was in or something. But it's NXT versus NXT UK versus 205 Live. Like, it's like when Ring of Honor versus New Japan happens, but it's within the WWE family, which is what Triple H wants to do with his whole territory system. It's amazing. I love it.
Cannot wait for all of that. Also, we got some signing news for WWE. Of course, one of the big ones from the last couple of weeks is Kushida is set to move on from New Japan after he's going to have a final match against the heavyweight champion Tanahashi, and then he's expected to be going to NXT.
Yeah, we haven't heard officially that that's where he's going,
Allegedly.
But it definitely seems like that's the case.
And of course, like him being his mid-late 30s, like you can see him maybe having a last run with WWE and then coming back to New Japan and retiring in the land of the rising sun. Like, I can see it happening.
I wanted him to go to 205 Live, personally. I want him to skip NXT, go straight to 205 Live. However, with Triple H's latest comments, so while he's doing all his press stuff for the NXT UK and what have you, he is talking about, I don't see, like, he's talking about the opportunity for people from NXT UK to go to WWE, right, to the main roster. And he's like, some of these people will never make it to Raw or SmackDown. That's how it is. Some of them will never make it to Raw or SmackDown. But they may still have very meaningful careers as we continue this global localization strategy. And NXTs pop up all over the place. They may spend a lot of time here, then go to another part of the globe, then go to another part of the globe, then come back here. Maybe they go on WWE for a little stint, then they come back down and come back across to where they are, and we're gonna move around a lot, and we're gonna see guys from WWE go back to NXT, guys, and it become like a territory system. So you could see with some of their signings. So of course the rumors are that Jonah Rock has signed. We know he's got his last match coming up here in Australia on February 2nd. So if he's going to go over to NXT, right, who's to say that eventually they won't open up an NXT Australia and he'll come back over here? Who's to say that Kushida won't end up back in Japan within a year because they open NXT Japan? We just don't know.
And I would say, like you mentioned, that some stars won't be on Raw or SmackDown as part of their careers. I would say, of course, with Access, like the more performance centers being opened up, I can see more like cross promotion, like more tournaments, just to like Australia versus UK, like I don't know, Australia versus Japan. Like, who knows?
Yeah, you know what I think? I think that they look at WrestleMania weekend and they go, look at all these wrestlers that converge on whatever city we're in with their crappy little rinky-dink companies putting on shows. Why can't all these shows be us? That's what I think that they're moving towards, where they just sign everyone and everything and then bring everyone together for WrestleMania, bring everyone together for SummerSlam and make big weekends out of it where there's wrestling on 24/7, and then everyone goes back to their little corners of the globe and does their thing, and Vince doesn't have to worry about them for most weeks of the year.
It's funny you mention that. I don't think it's part of our thing, but with, of course, the Bullet Club Block Party happening at WrestleMania as well, like not too far off from there as well. Like, who else would want it? They probably had that same mindset, just saying, I wish those guys would just go away.
Yeah. I think that, Vince does really well with competition, but I don't think he necessarily wants it, especially at this age. I think he just wants to go quietly into that good night, into that little XFL run. I think he just wants to be able to challenge himself at this point and not be challenged by other people.
He's nearly 75, 76. He's getting up there. He does want to go out with a blaze of glory, I would say.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think we're in for a really interesting time as wrestling fans, but we've been saying that for a while now. We were talking about NXT UK a second ago. What about Bruiserweight? The Bruiserweight, old mate Pete Dunne. He's hit 600 days as champion.
Unbelievable. Congratulations to the Bruiserweight. Like, could you expect
That's huge.
Could you expect it, especially with, of course you have, in the independent scenes, you have stars that can have lengthy runs here and there, but of course their schedules aren't as vast. And you've got especially like I can't remember when's the last time you had a WWE star have such a long title reign.
Brock Lesnar, I guess. But that doesn't count. Like
No.
Pete Dunne's defending it all over the place. Like he's defended it at other shows, like at Progress and stuff. Like it's kind of a little bit different compared to the guy who defended it twice in like 700 days or whatever it was.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's pretty impressive. Like he's closing in on that Okada territory, like right? Like Okada had the title for what 720 days over in New Japan. Yeah. So I could see him getting there too. I mean, who can you see dethroning Pete Dunne?
I could see maybe Tyler Bate. Like, of course, there's a lot of stars being signed off for NXT UK.
Yeah. Only person I can see on the horizon is Volta. I think he's the only one.
Oh, he'd be beautiful, yeah.
That's the only person I can think of.
It's Chop versus Slugfest. Like, oh, God. Cannot wait for that one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just getting lost in thought there.
That's all right. That's all right. The NXT UK though as well. It looks like they're trying to. Well, WWE, yeah, I guess, are trying to sort of gut the World of Sport women's division. Did you see that one?
I did. So
yeah,
not only like taking some guys who were expected to be part of All Elite Wrestling at some point, but or what ladies I should say, got apparently Viper, Kaylee Ray, and Bea Priestley were offered potential WWE contracts.
Yeah, so apparently Viper, or Piper Niven as she's also been known, Viper was offered a contract with All Elite Wrestling, which she allegedly has turned down because she's going to be signing with WWE. And then, Bea Priestley, she's up in the air because her and Will want to move to Japan full-time, it looks like, so we're not sure what's happening there. However, Kaylee Ray, who I've said multiple times, had one of my matches of the year last year against Meiko Satomura, definitely my women's match of the year. And she's being signed as well from the looks of things. All of this is news to World of Sport, who commented on the matter. Wait, who did what now?
I would say it's a great get for WWE, and of course with AEW mentioning the fact that they do want to have a women's division, and of course the whole comment about men and women getting equal pay and stuff. I know we've talked about this on a previous episode, but just I'm really not too sure how the women's scene is going to get in terms of WWE versus the international scene.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. There's so many moves being made and there's so much going on, but look, the indie scene can recover. Let's just say that. The indie scene constantly refreshes. And the more pathways you see to WWE, the more people want to become wrestlers. Like, if people see it as achievable, then they're more likely to try it as well. So I think it's going to be fine, but it's definitely, I don't know. I feel like WWE have to open their own women's brand at some point.
Of course, we had the announcement a couple of weeks ago that they're going to finally have some women's tag team championships at some point.
Yeah, that's true. And apparently it's going to go cross-brand. So I think that they should definitely be opening, putting a women's show on the network. I've talked about it for years now, and I think that has to go ahead. Now, while we're talking about women,
yes,
are you ready? Are you ready to comment on something as a white man?
Oh, I think I see where you're going with this. Are you referring to Priscilla?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So, periods are icky. It's gross. I feel like that's the general tone the internet took.
Of course.
Dick lollipop.
Yeah.
Dick lollipop, fine. No problems with that. It's hilarious. Tampon, ew. That's gross.
Stinkface, Rikishi, pick a promotion. Like, there's always some kind of spot meant to just shock you or make you squirm. Or of course, yeah. Who else wants to hear two grown white men talk about women's functions?
No, so for those who don't know, I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're a wrestling fan, you've seen this. But Priscilla Kelly, who of course wrestled in the latest Mae Young Classic, she's had her profile risen by this spot that she did at a bar show. And she said that she didn't even know going in if there were going to be cameras or anything, but she just wanted to put on a good show for the fans. And she'd had this idea for a spot for a while. and she thought she'd run with it. And everyone agreed. That's the biggest thing, right, in wrestling. The biggest thing to point out is this is a performance.
Yes.
And everyone agreed to it before. It's not like she just did this and her opponent had no idea what was going on.
No.
She reached into her tights as part of the match. She reached into her tights and she pulled out what appeared to be a used tampon. Now, it was probably a tampon with strawberry jam or something on it. It was not actually a used tampon because, surprise, wrestling is a work.
Shock and horror.
And so she proceeded to shove it in the face and in the mouth and rub it around of her opponent. And it was hilarious.
It was. And it was an adult event at a bar. So.
Yeah. And the internet exploded. I think Road Dogg was like, this is disgusting. You're the reason the business. Like, Road Dogg went full Jim Cornette on Priscilla Kelly.
And, granted, I have heard some veterans of the women's scene, of course, Gail Kim and I believe Angelina Love, they've expressed their contempt for it. But again, this was a consensual thing. And again, it was, she wasn't expecting it to be taped. And it was at a bar event. And
look, see, it's just their internalized misogyny or something. That's what I've heard. But we are conditioned to feel like women's bodily functions are something that shouldn't be talked about. But you know what? Once a month, women bleed.
Yep.
And I don't know. So my first thought when I saw this spot was, oh, it's a bit gross, but also, I can't believe no one's done that before. That was my first thought. I can't believe no one's done that before. And people are like, yeah, but it shouldn't be done. That's why no one's done it before. And I'm like, no, not really. I don't think that's the case. I think that anything's fair game. What's the rest of the match? I need to see the rest of the match to know what the story was, because this could have been it could have made perfect sense with the wider story.
And I would say, of course, I haven't committed the name of her opponent to memory, but she hasn't gone off to say that, oh, this was against my wishes, or this was disgusting. How could you do this? Because again, it was all pre-planned.
It was consensual. It was completely consensual. Consensual violence, consensual, dick lollipopping, consensual tampon mouthing. It's a thing, you guys. It's a thing. Don't judge what other people are into, okay? And here's the major point. The crowd popped.
Exactly.
There was no one in the crowd being like, "Oh," you didn't see a shot of that woman over in the corner throwing up in the trash can. And if you did, it was probably because she had one too many margaritas that had nothing to do with the spot. So don't at me. It was entertaining. They popped for it. I think the opponent's name was Tuna, because she was like, "Oh, Tuna, you want the tuna?" And then she gave her the tuna, which I think that was the part that that's the part that disgusted me the most was, "Oh, Tuna, you want the tuna?" That was the part where I was like, ew. But the rest of it, I was like, it's pretty fucking hilarious.
She has been interviewed, of course, saying will this impact her potential future career with WWE, having been a former competitor in the Mae Young Classic, and she's gone on record saying no, of course there's plenty of opportunities, but yeah.
No, look, you know what? I was more grossed out by sexual chocolate than
the hand
than this. So the hand, giving birth to a hand. You mentioned it, Rikishi stink face. Katie Vick happened in WWE.
Oh no! Why did you?
Come on, people. Come on, you really think? Yeah, no, I think she's going to be fine. And honestly, her price went up. Everyone's price went up when All Elite Wrestling announced, but her price went up even more because she got a name out there. People talking about her, and that's what you want.
Especially with, we're going to be, as we say, we're going to be inundated with All Elite Wrestling news, in the next coming days, weeks, months, to get your name above that and above all the WWE news,
yeah. Well, the point is, more wrestling fans know her name now, right? Because now someone will be walking down the street in, I don't know, Denver, Colorado, just random. I just picked a random place. I don't know. Someone's walking down the street in Ohio, some random town, and they see a little ratty poster on a wall, and they're like, "Oh, what's it? Oh, live pro wrestling. Oh yeah, who's there?" And they have a look, and there's a bunch of people they don't know, and then they see Priscilla Kelly, and they're going to be like, "Wait, isn't that the tampon chick? Yeah, we got to go to this show." She's raised her profile. Good for her. She's doing her job. I love it. I think it's great. And with that, where can people find you, Mr. Mysterious?
If you want to follow me, guys, you can follow me at Mr. Mysterious with a 1 and 7 I on Instagram, Twitter, all the socials. And one thing you guys might not have realized since our last episode, we now have a Patreon.
Yes, we do. So you can find that at patreon.com/the B+. So we are the B+ Wrestling on everywhere except for Twitter, where we're the B+ Wrestle, because wrestling wouldn't fit. And for some reason, I forgot that wrestling was a part of our name when I signed up for Patreon, because we're just the B+ on there. Could it mean that there's more to come than just wrestling?
Who knows?
Just going to let that sit for a second. Now, you can head over to Patreon, and it's the best way to support us. Obviously, if you want to check out our advertisers, that is a huge support. We love our advertisers. They are brilliant. However, if you're the kind of person that's like, man, I had to listen to 5 minutes of ad. You didn't. You had to listen to 3 tops. I make sure it's 3 tops. But if you're the kind of person that doesn't like listening to ads, you can get ad-free episodes on Patreon. You can get early access to bonus episodes. You can even tell us what you want to do. So we have our first listener requested episode coming up, where we're going to list the top 5 wrestlers that you've seen live. So we're gonna go through this stuff. You can do custom episodes. There's all sorts of cool stuff. We're going to start doing call-in shows, and every single cent that comes in through that Patreon, every single cent that comes in through advertising as well, is all going straight back into the platform to help it grow, to help us get better, to get new gear, to get on YouTube, to do all the things that we want to do to bring the graps to you, lovely people who want to support our mission of watch global, support local. And so if you want to do that, if you want to help us out, it's the B+. No, it's not the B+. If you want to help us out, it's patreon.com/the B+. I am at GregUnchained on Twitter, at the GregUnchained on Instagram. We collectively are the B+ Wrestle on Twitter, because wrestling wouldn't fit the B+ Wrestling everywhere else. Like, share, subscribe, 5-star review if you like what we do, all that good stuff. You want to take the last line?
Thank you so much, guys, for listening. I've been Mr. Mysterious. This has been Super Producer GregUnchained. We'll see you guys later.
Hold 1. Arm drag.
You're not good at this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You just made the list.
So, no speak English.
Dummy. Goodbye and good night. Hold 2. Arm bar.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
It's still real to me, damn it. Dummy. Hold 3. The moss covered. 3-handle family Granunzo.